Today we'll begin reading the novella Spirit Animals, the First Greenclock, a story from Tales of the Great Beasts, written by Gavin Brown. As you read, be sure to annotate the text. Circle and define words you don't know. Underline or star passages or characters or events that you think are important. Put smiley faces next to things you like, frowny faces next to things you don't, question marks next to things you don't understand. If you have any questions, be sure to write them in the margins of the text. Also, if you're making connections while you're reading, be sure to take note of those as well. Connections are anything that you read that reminds you of something that has happened to you, something that you have seen around you, or maybe it reminds you of another book you've already read. Taking notes, circling and underlining and questioning the text are all characteristics of a good reader. Today we'll begin section 1, which begins on page 5. Be sure to have your book open and be following along with a pen in hand or pencil in hand. Violet eyes gleamed in the dark. The enormous cat glided under red acacia trees, a shadow outlined by dim moonlight. Uraza sniffed the wind. The scent of prey was on the air, but it was not the antelopes, deer, or wildebeest that she hunted for food. No, this was the ugly scent of men, polluting her hunting grounds with their stink, filling her peaceful night with their coarse songs and flickering fires, waddling across her lands with their ungangly two-legged walk. Uraza was twice the height of a normal leopard, with blinding speed and the ferocity of a tornado. She was not just a normal predator. She was a great beast, one of the 15 who had walked Eridus since the earliest days. She crested a hill, looking down across the savannah at the small group clustered around a campfire. More foreigners, with their metal helmets and swords and their destructive habits. The predators of Nilo had learned to stay clear of her hunting grounds. Only thick, prideful men insisted on straying in. Generally, the locals honored her, showing her the respect and admiration due a great beast. But even they had become more insolent in recent days. A delegation of elders from the eastern villages had come last week, begging for her assistance. Great Uraza, beauteous queen of the savannah, their leaders had entreated her. Please help us fight these foreigners. They attacked without warning, betraying many years of peace. We need your aid to drive them from Nilo. Uraza had snarled at them, chasing them across the river, marking the boundary of her hunting grounds. Who did they think she was? One of their village dogs to be ordered around when they needed her? One of their precious spirit animals to be forced into a life of cohabitation with them? This was just a conflict between two human tribes, and humans needed to deal with their own problems. Let them appeal to a soft-hearted great beast like Nanani, who enjoyed meddling in everyone else's business. All Uraza cared about was that none of them entered her hunting grounds. The camp below her had been made in her territory, so those humans would pay. Samilia ordered us to scout out the hunting grounds. I'd rather be ripped up by a giant leopard than come back to her empty-handed, one of them was saying. I heard stories at the last village, another one answered. She's massive and vicious. She doesn't even let the locals enter. They say she's so large that she can eat a man in 2 bites. If we go in there, we're as good as dead. Uraza's teeth gleamed in the darkness as she smiled. Perhaps that one would be suffered to live, if only to spread tales of her glory to the rest of the foreigners. The huge cat waited a moment, until the watchman posted at the edge of the firelight looked away. Then she charged forward. He turned back and stared at her in slack-jawed shock as she rocketed into the light of the fire. He went down with one swipe of her claws. The night erupted in screams and shouts. Some of the soldiers panicked, but the others grabbed swords and shields and advanced on her. Uraza simply laughed, a deep rumble booming across the savannah. She leaped at them, extending her claws and batting aside the steel as they swung it. One she raked across the face with her claws. Another she sent careening with a thrust from her shoulder. Uraza crashed through the camp, slashing tents and sending pots and pans falling into the mud. Please, one of the soldiers said, throwing up his hands in surrender as she bore down on him. Uraza leaned in close, able to smell the fear that she saw in his wide eyes. She snarled, using a single claw to draw a cut across his chest. Go, she rumbled at the pathetic man. Cross the river and leave my hunting grounds forever. Tell your people that anyone else who enters my borders will end their journey in my belly." The man nodded, face completely drained of color. "Now go!" Uraza roared. The man fled into the night, immediately followed by his companions. She heard them stumbling through the dark long after she could no longer see them. Uraza kicked a massive clod of dirt onto the fire and slipped back into the night. Half an hour later she sniffed the air and growled with satisfaction. The stink of humans no longer clung to the air. This is the end of section 1.